The leather bag hit the marble floor with a heavy thud just steps away from the crowded hotel entrance. People walked past without noticing the stacks of cash spilling slightly from the unzipped side pocket. Rain poured across the city street while luxury cars lined up outside the five-star charity gala. In less than 10 seconds, a struggling single father wearing a soaked construction jacket spotted the bag first. And in that exact moment, his entire life could have changed. Inside the bag sat $50,000 in cash. Enough money to save his home. Enough to pay his daughter's medical bills. Enough to finally stop surviving day by day. But instead of hiding the bag or disappearing into the storm, the exhausted father picked it up with trembling hands and walked directly into the hotel lobby to return every dollar. What he did not know was that one of the richest women in the country had just watched everything happen from the back seat of her limousine. And before the night ended, the billionaire would secretly follow him home. If you believe kindness, honesty, and second chances still matter in this world, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Moments Hub for more emotional and inspiring stories. Ethan Cole had spent most of his life fighting battles nobody else could see. At 37 years old, he worked long shifts as a construction laborer in downtown Chicago while raising his 8-year-old daughter Lily alone after losing his wife Hannah to cancer 3 years earlier. Every morning before sunrise, Ethan prepared Lily's breakfast, braided her hair after countless failed attempts he practiced online, and walked her carefully to school before catching overcrowded buses to construction sites across the city. Life had become a constant balancing act between exhaustion and survival. Medical debt from Hannah's treatments buried him financially long after her death. Bills stacked endlessly across the kitchen table inside their tiny apartment. Winter cold slipped through cracked windows because Ethan could not afford proper repairs. Some nights he skipped dinner entirely so Lily would never notice how little food remained in the refrigerator. Yet despite everything, Ethan never allowed bitterness to consume him. He still helped elderly neighbors carry groceries upstairs. He still fixed broken bicycles for neighborhood kids free of charge. And every night, no matter how exhausted he felt, he sat beside Lily's bed reading stories until she fell asleep smiling. But recently, fear had begun growing heavier inside him. Lily suffered from a worsening heart condition requiring expensive treatment Ethan had no realistic way of affording. Doctors reassured him the surgery would likely save her completely, but the costs felt impossible for a struggling father already drowning in debt. Still, Ethan kept working. Kept hoping. Kept pretending things would somehow improve. Then came the rainy Thursday night that changed everything. After finishing a brutal 14-hour shift pouring concrete during cold weather, Ethan walked through downtown carrying leftover dinner rolls wrapped carefully inside his jacket for Lily. Rain soaked his boots while luxury vehicles crowded the streets near a massive charity gala hosted at the prestigious Grand Meridian Hotel. The event attracted celebrities, executives, politicians, and billionaires from across the country. Cameras flashed constantly outside the entrance while reporters shouted questions beneath bright lights. Ethan normally avoided places like that entirely. Worlds filled with wealth only reminded him how far life pushed him from stability. Then he noticed the bag. The expensive leather case slipped unnoticed from a hotel valet cart during the storm and landed near the curb while distracted staff rushed around attending wealthy guests. At first Ethan assumed it belonged to someone important. But when he bent down and accidentally saw stacks of bundled cash inside, his heart nearly stopped. $50,000. Maybe more. For several seconds, the world around him disappeared. All he could think about was Lily. Her medical bills. The surgery. The fear of losing her exactly like he lost Hannah. Nobody nearby noticed him holding the bag. Rain covered everything. The street remained chaotic. And for one dangerous moment, desperation whispered that nobody would ever know. But Ethan looked down at the dinner rolls inside his jacket meant for Lily and remembered something Hannah once told him before she died. She said the hardest moments reveal who we truly are. So Ethan walked into the hotel lobby and handed the bag directly to security despite his hands shaking from exhaustion and emotional pain. Several staff members looked stunned. The money belonged to one of the gala's major donors and had disappeared minutes earlier, creating panic behind the scenes. Hotel management immediately thanked Ethan repeatedly while security verified the cash remained untouched. Ethan refused reward offers politely. He simply asked for permission to leave because his daughter waited at home. But someone else had witnessed everything quietly from a distance. Victoria Hale. At 45 years old, Victoria was one of the wealthiest women in America, owner of a global investment empire worth billions. Media outlets described her as brilliant, ruthless, and emotionally untouchable. She attended the gala reluctantly that evening only to maintain public appearances for investors and political partners. Truthfully, Victoria hated events like this. Behind the luxury and applause, she saw endless greed, fake smiles, and people obsessed with status rather than humanity. Then she watched Ethan return the bag. And something about the exhausted single father refusing life-changing money despite obvious hardship unsettled her deeply. Most people inside that hotel spent the evening pretending to care about charity while protecting fortunes they would never miss. Yet the poorest man in the building displayed more integrity than anyone else there. Victoria could not stop thinking about him. So when Ethan finally left the hotel and disappeared into the rain carrying his worn backpack, she made an impulsive decision she barely understood herself. She followed him. Not with security. Not publicly. Alone. For nearly 40 minutes, Victoria quietly trailed Ethan's bus across darker neighborhoods far removed from luxury towers and expensive restaurants. Eventually she watched him step into an aging apartment complex with flickering hallway lights and broken stair railings. Curiosity turned into heartbreak moments later. Through a partially uncovered apartment window, Victoria saw Ethan enter carrying the small bag of dinner rolls. Lily rushed toward him smiling brightly despite obvious weakness and fatigue. Ethan immediately knelt beside her helping with homework while pretending not to notice overdue bills scattered across the table nearby. The apartment was tiny. The furniture worn. But the warmth inside that room felt more genuine than anything Victoria experienced in years. She sat silently inside her parked car staring toward the apartment window long after rain stopped falling. Because for the first time in decades, she felt ashamed of how disconnected wealth had made her from ordinary human struggle. The next morning, Victoria ordered a quiet investigation into Ethan's life. What she learned affected her deeply. He worked multiple jobs without complaint. Neighbors described him as the kindest man in the building. School teachers praised how devoted he remained to Lily despite overwhelming hardship. Hospital records revealed the terrifying truth about Lily's heart condition and the surgery deadline approaching dangerously close. Yet Ethan never begged for help. Never blamed the world. Never stopped choosing honesty despite every reason to lose faith. Victoria made another unexpected decision. Instead of sending anonymous money, she visited Ethan personally. At first Ethan felt embarrassed and confused seeing a billionaire standing inside his tiny apartment holding coffee and medical paperwork. He assumed she came to reward him publicly for returning the money. But Victoria surprised him. She admitted quietly that she followed him home because she needed to understand why someone struggling so much would still choose integrity when nobody was watching. Ethan answered honestly. He explained that Lily already lost her mother. He could not allow her to lose respect for her father too. Those words broke something inside Victoria. Because despite all her success, she realized she had spent years surrounded by powerful people willing to sacrifice honesty for far less than survival. Over the following weeks, Victoria quietly became part of their lives. Not through charity events or media attention, but through genuine care. She arranged Lily's surgery through the best specialists available while disguising financial support through legal aid programs preserving Ethan's dignity. She visited the apartment bringing books for Lily and groceries she pretended were leftovers from meetings. Slowly, the cold billionaire who once trusted nobody began experiencing something unfamiliar. Connection. Meanwhile, Ethan struggled emotionally with accepting help after spending years surviving alone. But Victoria never treated him like a project or charity case. She listened when he spoke. She respected his pride. And she admired the extraordinary strength required to remain compassionate despite carrying so much pain. Lily noticed everything. One evening before surgery, she quietly told Victoria that her father smiles differently when she visits. That sentence stayed in Victoria's heart forever. The surgery succeeded weeks later. For the first time in years, Ethan slept peacefully without fearing he might lose Lily too. But the emotional moment that changed everything came afterward. Victoria invited Ethan and Lily to attend another charity gala months later. This time, instead of sitting among billionaires pretending generosity for cameras, Ethan stood beside Victoria while she publicly announced the creation of a foundation supporting single parents struggling with medical debt and housing insecurity. Then she revealed why. She told the audience that the inspiration came from one exhausted father who proved integrity matters most when life gives you every reason to abandon it. The room stood silent. Because deep down, everyone understood she was not talking about money anymore. She was talking about character. Before this story ends, tell us in the comments, do you believe honesty still matters even when nobody is watching? As city lights reflected softly across the apartment window later that night, Ethan realized something powerful. Sometimes the greatest miracles begin the moment someone chooses integrity over desperation. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with someone who needs hope today. And subscribe to Moments Hub for more emotional stories that remind us kindness always finds its way back home.